Welcome to today's episode of Financial Fluency. Today I have Cameo Gore, Intuitive Success Coach with me. Hi Cameo, how's it going?
Hi, Jen. I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on today.
Sure, I'm really excited to connect with you because we've kind of seen each other online before, but haven't actually spoken.
Yeah, this is really awesome. It's just amazing to spend this time.
So tell me what an intuitive success coach does.
I use high-level business strategy for online and brick-and-mortar business growth and development, but I love mixing the woo, the magic, and the intuitive side of, developing your business from really heart over hustle is the word that I use, because the hustle in business is really why I left corporate. It's why I jumped off that cliff and created my own thing. And, that's what I want to teach people and help people with. And that's really where I've made that shift, is like tapping into my intuition. And we all have this incredible gift of intuition, and it's learning how to use that and to apply it into your business to create success.
So what kind of corporate job did you work in before you left and came to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I'm a registered nurse. I have a huge background in the medical field, and I left a high level job as a director of surgery in a large pediatric hospital in the Bay Area to pursue a freedom-based business several years ago.
That sounds like a pretty high stress position when you combine medical, surgical,
and kids.
Hospital. Yeah. I actually have, my oldest daughter is a special needs child. She has autism, a white blood cell disorder. She's tube fed. So we've spent a lot of time in pediatric hospitals.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And my heart goes out to you, because that's not an easy thing as a parent. So, and I think for me, in that realm of seeing those things so much and so much concentrated time and seeing things that were just devastating, I wanted to actually be the impact. I wanted to be the light. I wanted to be that force that was creating the change that I wanted to see in the world. And that's ideally and typically why I stepped out of corporate, and also because I wanted to have that time to spend with my family and redistribute my priorities so that they were in alignment with what I actually wanted. Yeah. So,
it's interesting. I was just thinking, as when you said corporate, I immediately assumed it was like, big box office. But you're right. Those big hospitals are corporate too, aren't they? I've never really thought of medical as corporate, but
yeah, I've had a team of about 250 people.
Wow.
So it was big, and I was a top leader under 40 in my position across the United States. So it really was jumping off of a cliff, because I had created so much and I felt like I was walking away from everything. And any entrepreneur that has ever probably started from scratch, bootlegging their own business and starting from nothing, has felt like at some point they have had to maybe walk away from something to start something new.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you had a lot of experience in terms of managing teams and overseeing projects. And how did that translate well into the business you started?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really great at sourcing teams and creating teams. And so one of the reasons why I've been super successful at the business that I'm running now, which is really coaching high-level support for entrepreneurs, seven-figure entrepreneurs, and also running events and retreats, at leadership retreats, is because I've known how to assemble teams and work from a structure. And what I see most happening, like where we get crazy as entrepreneurs, is that there's a lack of structure and planning in our business. So we're really flying by the seat of our pants. We're reacting, we're moving forward based on what is being thrown at us, instead of what it is that we actually really wanting to be going after, right? And this is why I feel like some of the success that I've had has been because I've had some of those tools in my tool belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think particularly for people who have only been employees prior to becoming entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So when you're an employee, the structure is already there. Like, you're hired into a company and you're told what to do. When you step away from that, a lot of us don't have that structure. We don't know how to build that structure because it was always just there before. So do you help people with that?
Yeah. So this is the great part. And I particularly love to work with coaches in my own business that have an intuitive side, that understand energy, and also are highly strategic and grounded. Okay. And that's a really strange combination, because, what I find is that you can find the really, really highly strategic coaches and they're not really concerned with the other stuff. But for me, I'm sensitive. I'm an empath. I kind of can feel things, and I tend to work with clients that operate the same way, and they need to be honoring and in alignment with how they're feeling. Number one, because your offers and the things that you're putting out there are not going to work. You know, your business isn't going to grow, and you're not going to get those next up levels if you're not working in alignment with how you're feeling. And I tend to think that sometimes we ignore those pieces of ourselves because we think we should be doing whatever so-and-so's doing, or just the next thing that everyone's doing, instead of really doing what we're intuitively hearing is the right thing for us. And so staying in connection with this intuitive side really allows us to actually grow way bigger and go faster, further faster, because we're in our own energy, if that makes sense, Jen.
That does. As you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about things I've seen lately about levels of stress and anxiety and medication for stress and anxiety here in America. When we're all so used to being so tense and keyed up and stressed out and anxious and worried about things, how do we access that intuition? I mean, I feel like so much of the time we don't feel good about a lot of stuff going on around us. Mm-hmm. So we end up just kind of stuffing it down and quieting it because it's like, oh, politics, climate, hurricane, you know, there's so much going on to be stressed about. How do we find that in ourselves?
Well, number one, it's like, first of all, time management. So what I find so typically across the board with so many clients is that, you know, the one non-renewable resource is time. And how are we spending our time? And it sounds so basic, but it is so crucial that we've got a great handle and a ton of clarity on what we really want to be doing with our day and how we really want to be being in our day. Because our day usually is dictated, especially if you're a mompreneur, you know, by whatever's being thrown at you, literally. And what I tend to find is that your life can unfold in direct proportion to the vision of what you actually want to be creating. And so, Jen, like what I love to say is that, you know, we've got to be committed to creating our business, to creating our life based on where we want to be, okay, and not from where we are now. And if this one tool is something that I could share with your audience that can really shift everything in such a short period of time, is to sit down and create, where do you really want to be? And are you making decisions based on where you want to be, or are you making decisions for your business and your life based on where you are now?
So if someone wants to be much more successful than they are right now, but they don't feel like they have the funds or the resources to make decisions for that future, how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, so well, there's always resources available to us now. I don't believe in lack and limitation. I believe that we see that, but that it's an illusion, okay? So every time that we look around and we see that there isn't enough to do this program, there isn't enough to hire a coach, there isn't enough to build the business. The truth is that is an illusion, because actually, you know, we're not, probably no one listening to this is in Africa starving right now, right? So somewhere in your life, you have abundance. And it's a choice to begin asking, and this is what I say, is that when we get into this lack and limitation thing, we say, please allow me to see the situation differently. Okay. So like, Jen, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation with your business or your life or whatever, you don't have enough, and it doesn't feel like enough. But I have. And I think that, or even when I've been triggered, maybe I triggered by a friend, or something is coming up for me and it feels really heavy and it feels stressful. The first place I go is just to tap into God's source energy, you know, whatever it is for each person, but asking, can you allow me to please see this differently? Okay. And when we can make that shift and reverse that, okay, so like today, I woke up feeling like I didn't maybe have enough time. And I actually sat for 2 minutes and just took a deep breath and realized that it was a perception issue and I had plenty of time. And and I call this a miracle mindset shift, because there's these little shifts that could go on in our life, like all day long, and it creates magic. It creates expansion. And this is where the miracles can come in. And this is where we are magnetic in our attraction for, the most incredible soulmate clients to come in, for, you know, a lot of money coming into our business because we're seeing and we're choosing to see it differently, which is a practice.
That's nice. I like that. Just seeing it differently. So when you first left your big hospital job, were there some steps between that job and what you're doing now? Did you immediately go for intuitive success coach, or were you doing some other things in between?
I definitely do. Like, no, I straight went from corporate into my business. I began taking on clients, and I did some personal development work, but went straight into business strategy. And then I realized that the results were really compounded when I started working with energy and honoring the fact that I was an energy worker, because it was something that I didn't really identify with in the corporate world, and the more I brought the energy healing into my own world and then shared it with my clients, the more they were experiencing up levels and growth from what they were working on. And I realized the power of this, and all of it had to do with I chose to honor my intuition. It showed me that, hey, when I use this is going to be really great and good. And then I was able to see that it did work very well. So I kind of went straight into it. And then I also started, sorry, they've got a fly over here, created experiences. So much can happen when we get together with a group of like-minded people that want to expand their energy and be free, like create that freedom that we're all looking for. And I started creating these experiences. I started going to Sedona many, many years ago in Arizona, probably like 12 years ago. I literally manifested my husband overnight from Sedona because I was so fed up with my life and I got so clear with what I wanted. I learned the tools and skills that I teach now for manifesting, and he showed up the next day, which was really amazing. But I take people back to where this all began for me. And I go to Sedona. I started that 4 years ago, straight out of the gates of corporate. I knew I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that with people because it had been so explosive and mind blowing and how it's showed up in my life. And so this is our 4th year back.
So for people who aren't familiar with energy work, can you explain what it is and what type of energy work you do?
Yeah, well, it's my type. And I know that's hard, but like we're all energy. You're energy. I'm energy. This computer is energy. There's this pen is actually energy. It's all made up of molecules and atoms. And so when you get into quantum physics and you understand, which I'm no expert at quantum physics, but basically everything is energy. And there's laws around that, like attracts like, and other things, repel each other. And, there's a law of attraction. There's certain laws that come into play and how we're manifesting and things in our life. So when I say energy work, it's aligning your energy with basically like higher vibrational frequencies so you can be a match for the most incredible things to come into your life. Everything that, your dreams are, your dream, we've got dreams, you can allow that in more easily. So that's a really basic view of how I do my energy work, is it creates alignment. Now, energy work is usually based around chakra system, and that's kind of how I visually see it. I'm highly intuitive. So when I say intuitive, that you can also say that somewhat, I've got some psychic gifts and I can see energy in people. So when I'm tapped in and tuned on and in service to them. So the chakra system is kind of something that helps you to do that. And this is kind of the fun stuff that happens. And what it does is it just provides healing. It provides support, and it provides people connecting them with their higher self so they can make decisions in that space and not based on, everything else that's out here.
So when you work with someone to align their energy, can you give an example of like how you do that? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I have a Facebook group, and in the group, this is kind of what I do in my group. I do intuitive coaching threads, and basically when people hop on, they type in their question, and what I can do is I basically can see in a person with what they're going through and what they're struggling with, where it is in their system. Okay. And when I say their system, I look at the chakra system, and then I help them to release that energy, because we hold energy in our bodies. Like if we go through trauma, if we have stories that we're living out about money that keep showing up for us over and over again, it's usually an energetic block that can be released from within the body's system that will actually help to shift it out into your reality and your life and your world. And that sounds really weird, but it's not, because right, it's all energy. And it would be likely to think that sometimes we hold stuff inside of ourselves that we don't need to hold on in anymore, but we just are not conscious of it. It's kind of there. It's mom and dad's old stuff, or it's that thing that happened to you when you were 4, and that you're kind of holding that trauma still inside of the body. And so that can be released. And a lot of times when that happens, it creates space. It creates space for what's next. It creates space for what you actually really want. And you begin to let go of some of the old programming. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think looking at psychology too, like when people do go through trauma, there are times where, you can work either with a psychologist or a hypnotherapist or something, and then go back to something that happened to you in the past and kind of re-experience it and get through it.
Let it go. Yeah.
Deal with it before. So like, I think there are a number of different ways in which that can be interpreted, but that's interesting. And I have heard of, I've had a few other energy healers on the show, but it does, some people do Reiki and some people do these different things. So I'm always curious, like how the practical, like what are you actually doing? Are you like walking them through a meditation, or are you like?
I don't have a cookie cutter approach. I mean, I'm an intuitive coach. So I basically work with the client's specific energy and what it is that they need. I don't use any one modality. I use my own. So it's hard to just describe it. It's not Reiki. But it's all in service to specifically help clients reach their next level of goals and to free their energy up so that they can be what it is that they're really, really being called to be. And they can be in their purpose and they can be in their passion. And while at the same time, the universe can be supporting them in a different way and showing up differently for them.
Mm-hmm. So if someone's listening to this and wondering if that's true of them, if they need this kind of help, how do they know?
Gut feeling, always.
Yeah. Okay.
So the number one thing for intuition is that it's not your head that actually, it should be, is the guiding force. The mind is wonderful, and that, we do mindset work as entrepreneurs, and we do all of these things, but it's really the gut. You have that gut feeling that that something is for you. And that's what I have consistently made decisions that are, expensive decisions, big investments in my own life and business. And when I have had the gut feeling that something's right for me and taking that action, or that someone I'm supposed to know, or that a client that I'm supposed to serve, whatever it is, that 99% of the time is correct. Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, there are definitely times when I've met someone and instantly felt an affinity, we should be friends. We need to hang out more, that kind of thing. I do feel like in our lives, there are times where, especially as women and caregivers and moms and bread earners and kind of all of these roles that we have, where we end up kind of suppressing that. That's what I was asking about at the beginning, like when you have all this stress and tension and medication for stress and tension and all of these depression, all the stuff that we do, I feel like we can get really out of touch with that intuitive feeling.
Yes. And it's so important because, if we're not showing up for ourselves, if we're not taking care of ourselves, I'm talking to myself, right? I'm talking to everyone, but I'm talking to myself, then we can't be that service for other people. Yeah. We can't show up for other people. And that could be even, in your own house with your family, or for your following, for your client base, for whatever it is for you. And so self-care is so crucial. And I'm not discounting medications at all. Some people, chemically need those things, but when we're showing up for ourselves consistently and saying no to more stuff and saying yes to the stuff that excites us, and really operating from that place of creating that dream life, creating that place of really where we want to be, making decisions from that place as much as we can, that's what we're going to get more of. And, I think that's a really important shift. I mean, it's something that I consistently work with in my own life so that I feel aligned, and I feel happy, and I feel that I'm feel good inside, you know, and that's what I had to do to shift out of my old job, because that wasn't how I felt. And so I base a lot of all of this around like, are you feeling the way you want to be? You know?
You know, earlier when you were talking about how things can stick at different places in your body, and you mentioned trauma can affect things too. I mean, my audience is mainly women. Statistically, somewhere between 1 in 6 and 1 in 3 experience some kind of sexual trauma, physical trauma, you know, even just my daughter's medical trauma. Sometimes I look at that and I wonder what I can do right now to help her with the trauma that I know she's gone through all this that she's been through. And then, I mean, I was sexually abused as a child. A lot of people I know. How do you see all of this interacting with women and their trauma?
Yeah. So, well, this is why I created the in-person experiences, because we go deep to release all of that stuff. And the layers of healing, I like to look at it like an onion. Okay. So like, here's the thing is that as we heal and as we grow, our businesses heal and grow too, because the container that we're holding is only as big. I mean, the business that we were creating is only as big as the container that we're holding. Does that make sense? So that's why the personal development is so important inside of business in general and just in life, because as we're peeling the layers of the onion, right? And like, I come from a background with an alcoholic father, and, you know, the stories go on and on. So I'm not a stranger to childhood trauma and things like that. It is real. And the more real we can get with ourselves on allowing our healing to come in, that is how you show up more powerfully for your kids, right? So I've had to get over like layers of guilt, because this new business takes me out of, I have to travel, right? And I have to go and I host retreats, you know, 5 days at a time. And I do one also in Palm Beach. And I just got back from doing one in participating in one to receive. So the thing is that every time I do this, I come back more expanded version of myself to be able to give to the people around me. And that leap and that gap. I mean, I never thought that I would be doing this. I was in corporate, like a retreat or getting away for 3 days was like, what? Right. And as I've allowed myself to act as if I was already there and to create based on where I wanted to be, this has expanded naturally. And this healing has come in from it as well, which has really made more space in my life for the things I want. And I think that's a beautiful thing for everybody. That's what we all want.
Yeah, I agree. So tell us more about the retreats. What happens at your retreats?
Okay. So, well, there's two. The one that's upcoming is at the end of September. It's in Sedona. I think we've got like one spot left. The doors are closing this week. So it's full, but it's in Sedona, Arizona. It's in an amazing resort. You've probably been there, Enchantment. So pretty. And, you know, Sedona to me is a sacred area. Number one, because of the history of what I have created every time I've gone there. I've received massive up levels and shifts that have been a little unexplainable to me 12 years ago. Now I understand it more, and I'm guiding people through this so they can have these shifts too. So what happens is that we come together with this incredible group. We've got women coming in from all over the world, literally, to really shift and transform together. I host this with my business partner for Ignite and Expand, which is the brand that we have co-founded for these experiences, Suzanne Adams. And basically, we do our own teaching and our own energy healing. We teach the tools that we have used to create the success in our own lives. So I've had massive financial success in my own life. And Suzanne is a best-selling author, and she's a Hay House World Summit speaker. So we both bring all of our energy together to help everyone up-level into creating what it is that their dream is, and shifting into like more of a miracle mindset to allow those things to come in. With that comes healing, because you've got to be willing to let go of some stuff that's weighing you down, right? And be supported with that to be able to have those other high level things come in that you are going to be the magnetic attraction match to. Does that make sense? Because everything's energy. So we basically do that, but we also do yoga. We do some hiking. There's a 5-star spa there that we love to hang out at. And we do, we do the work. We go there to do the work and drop in to the energy. And we also work with vortex energy. So that, like, you know, Sedona's got a lot of vortexes. So we work with kind of the magnetic energy of the vortexes. So it's a really, really fun thing. I've got 7-figure business entrepreneurs that come in that just love to do the energy work. And I've got people just starting out. It doesn't matter, because all of these women create these soul sister friendships and connections that have been mind-blowing to witness over the years. And they keep coming back. They love the experience. It's so powerful.
So do you do, as far as the success part of the success coaching, do you do like business coaching at the retreats too, or is it more focused on the personal development side?
It's amazing. We do some business coaching. This year we're going to do some business coaching for the Sedona one. But it's amazing. This one, the one in Sedona, is really for people who want a big up level and big growth, and they want to be a catalyst. And it's both. It's a mix of both. We host one in the spring in Palm Beach that's called Ignite and Expand Palm Beach. And that's a women's leadership summit. That one's 100% focused on business. However, they're still going to get healing from it, because Suzanne and I really know that for you guys to get not you guys as in you, but, you know, for everyone to get the massive shifts that they're looking for in their life, they've got to be willing to do the work internally. There's no magic bullet. And I think that that's something that I expected to find when I started my business, is that there was like a magic thing. And I found that the more I was willing to grow, actually my business came right there with me. And that was the magic understanding that I began to have. And then I was like, wow, everyone needs this. Right. So yeah, so it's a great mix. It's a great mix. I've got women that came to Sedona from a year ago that basically have tripled their income. They've had them like incredible things happen as a result of some of the shifts and transformation that's taken place.
That's really interesting. So the Palm Springs one, by the time this goes out, it sounds like it'll probably be sold out, the Sedona one. So if someone's interested in the Palm Springs one, what do they need to do to find out about it?
Okay, so I don't know that for sure. So if you are really interested in Sedona, then message me. You can at least get on the list for the next year. But again, the Sedona one will start on September 28th this year, which is 2017. Palm Beach, which is in Florida, is going to be in April.
Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I said Palm Springs, didn't I?
Okay, yeah. It's going to be in April of 2018. And so they can find out more information at, for that, www.cameoandsuzanne.com.
Okay. You know, I've actually had Suzanne on the show before.
Awesome. Yeah, she's amazing. So that's, we have co-founded the brand Ignite and Expand together, and we co-host both of those events together. Okay, great. That is fun. And Sedona is beautiful. My family moved from California when I was an infant to Sedona, so we lived there for a while. I like it there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's an interesting place. So when we moved there in 1976, the year I was born, there was one grocery store and 2 hotels. Now there were no golf courses, none of that. Wow. I know, it's changed a lot. What took them to Sedona? It was an alternative religion. Okay. Kind of a cult that we were in when I was a kid. Okay. But yeah, so even back then it was attracting a lot of sort of alternative spiritual stuff. The golfing and resort things came later, you know, all of the sort of high-end real estate stuff. That's since the mid 80s into 90s, kind of that started to take off after we left. But yeah, it's really grown up a lot there. I've seen it changed a lot in 10 years for sure. But I loved Enchantment. It's a really sacred Indian ground. It's beautiful. It's a 5-star resort with the spa. It's amazing. I created the experiences that I wish that I had, that I wish that I could have found stepping out of corporate, that I wish I could have felt supported on this level. And that's what I want for people, is to feel that supported, and to know that there's a community that cares that much about your growth and the development and your mission and your why and your magnetic message of what you think is the most important thing to get out there in the world, because we're in a time of transition in this world, honestly. And the more, and I call these people light leaders, but we're all light leaders if we choose to be. It's not woo-woo. It's just being the highest vibrational part of you that you can imagine, and committing to your message of what's so important to put out there in the world. committing to your why and being that force of good.
So what is your big message that you're putting out into the world?
Well, my big message is that if you have a dream, it's meant to be yours. And, my dreams have changed over time. When I first manifested my husband from Sedona, I don't know how long ago that was now, probably 15 years ago. Time really flies. That was the dream. I had been in horrible relationships and it didn't pan out. And so, as my life has evolved, so has my dream. But wherever each of us are in the space of what we want to create for our life, if you can hold the image of what that is, if you know what it is, then you can create it. And I'm the vehicle and the person that is showing up and supporting women to actually have that manifest into reality, to show them how. And to give them both the strategic tools as well as helping them honor who they are and, their intuitive superpowers so that they can create it.
So in terms of women being entrepreneurs, we're at a really interesting time. Like, we do have more wealth in the hands of women than we have in the past, but it still is, we still have our wage gaps. We still have our retirement savings gaps. We still have all these things. Do you feel like this kind of work that you're doing is helping women to overcome any of that?
I think that we're making progress. I would like to see more women joining the revolution of creating on higher levels, for sure. But it's a process and it takes time, and it takes women supporting women. And it takes, the belief growing in multiple powerful women, right, to support a collective energy of more women joining that cause. And so, that's what you're doing, right? And that's what I'm doing. And it's what a lot of people are doing out there. And I think that the more that we continue to do this work, the more we can bring people into this energy flow and help them to up level. And so, in a way, we have work to do. So we're doing it, right?
We're doing it, yeah. You mentioned that you have children, right?
Yeah.
Boy, girl?
I have a 6-year-old girl, Isabella, and an 8-year-old boy, Carson. And it feels weird because he's actually about to be 10, and that's freaking me out just a little bit. Because, time's flying with them. And so as all this is happening, I'm trying to work on my own presence as a parent, and, with social media and iPads and all of this tech stuff, really having the intention of being focused and present with them has been so important.
Does all of the work that you're doing change how you're raising your children in terms of their mindset and,
Well, my kids know how to meditate. So it's pretty cute. And, my daughter is pretty energy sensitive and empathic. She feels things a lot in her body, like her stomach hurts when she gets upset, and she holds, we were talking about holding energy in your body. And a lot of people can see this in their kids more easily than they recognize it in themselves, because kids are just so paper thin with feeling things. They're sensing, feeling beings. And if you have an empathic child, a lot of parents tell me that, their kid has like a sixth sense about things. And so, I look at this as my job is to help her understand and to not shut that down. Right. Because if she's in attunement and alignment with how she's feeling, as frustrating as it may be for me at times, because she can be very, dramatic, but, I'm giving her that gift of knowing that she's free to be who she is. And that's what I try to stay connected to. Now, is there any perfection in parenting? Probably not. But I think that what I'm doing is a great enhancement to her, to help her. I think so often as kids, we're shut down a lot, and we're made to feel like things don't matter, when we end up doing that work later to realize that it does.
That's true. Yeah, that's something I was thinking about, is people who do a lot of self-development in their adulthood often, go back to childhood. So how does that affect the parenting, so that hopefully your children don't have to go and do so much of that work as adults, right?
Yes, that's the hope. But, there's new challenges that come in, right?
Yeah.
It's a new generation now that has a completely different set of stressors and things that we never dealt with as kids. Like I was born in 75, you were born in 76. So, like we didn't grow up with all this tech. And I think that right now that's the biggest thing that's really it's a great blessing, but it's also something that has to be really looked at as far as parenting and schools and different things, because it's taking the connection away from, human experience, from people connecting, because it's all virtual. It's all of this, tech stuff. And I think that's important to monitor across the board with our kids right now.
It also records all the dumb things that we did as kids, but nobody recorded it. I've thought about that some with kids. Like even just he said, she said at school, people text now and they can screenshot the text and prove you texted,
And this is bullying. I mean, this is where bullying comes in. It's actually very, very dangerous. And, I don't know the statistics around teenage suicide and things like that, but I feel like there's been more of that I've heard of lately. And it's been because there's just no filter. Like there's anything you do, your head's on the chopping block, and you could be ridiculed or made fun of or made a public humiliation out of. And I think that's a really crucial thing as parents that we've got to be watching, because, it's our responsibility to put parameters and structure and guidelines around what that looks like for our children.
Yeah, totally. And I was curious about one other thing so in terms of the intuitive success, you're helping other women get in touch with their own intuition as well, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier about the series of bad relationships and then manifesting the good relationship that you wanted. So when you were going through the bad relationships, was that you suppressing or ignoring your intuition earlier in life?
It was basically, I was operating from, I wasn't conscious of it. Okay. So sometimes it takes us breaking to a point of no return, hitting rock bottom, having the dark night of the soul, right? Which is, I don't do that anymore, but that's what it took for me to get over picking the wrong people. Okay. Because what happens is that we tend to repeat things in cycles in our life. And if it's a money thing, then I can look in a client and I can see the exact same money thing that that's everywhere in their life. If we can break the cycle, then it stops showing up and everything shifts. Does that make sense? Because if you've got a cycle going on, it's usually going on in more than one place. With that, I was just picking the wrong people, and it had a lot to do with self-worth and, not feeling good enough, different things. And when I had to hit a breaking point with that. And that was really where my life turned around, because I can remember getting this divine hit. Okay. I don't know how to explain it, but it just told me I needed a soul adventure. Okay. And I was so miserable, I would have done anything. I didn't care. I would have hung upside down off of a 15-foot balcony if someone told me that was going to fix it. But I did hear soul adventure, and it came through, and I've always been intuitive, but I really got some huge hits of support coming in from me that was trying to guide me. And I typed it into my computer, soul adventure. And I basically called the first place, which was in Sedona of all places. And I left the next day. Okay. And I went on a soul adventure, and that's basically what I've ended up creating again in my Ignite and Expand experiences, is this transformational experience that I received when I had these breakthroughs. And this is the thing, is that I get an up level every time I even run one of these things, because it's not like we're ever quite done, right? We just get to go to the next place. So, two things. Number one, that's when I really understood the value of listening to our intuitive hits. And that comes in different ways for people. Okay. Can come in, you can hear it, you can see it, you can feel it, you can do a lot of different things. I help people tune into how they receive that information. But when we're listening, those when we can have these massive breakthroughs, because we're always being supported. And this is where we get to choose to see that we're being supported and shift out of the lack and limitation that we talked about earlier.
So you went on the soul adventure the next day, and then you met your husband, the man who's your husband now, on that soul adventure?
No, I left. Okay. This is where the story gets even crazier.
Okay.
Okay. I did my manifesting process that I learned while I was there. Okay. And this is some of the stuff that I teach, but I basically got super crystal clear. With that being said, I had a lot of things listed out that I was looking for, and I had a lot of things listed out that I didn't want anymore. I got, a lot of clarity. And I wrote those things down. I had a physical proof. I could show it to you right now. It was basically like 300 things that I did and didn't want. Okay. That was part of the process that I went through of really understanding where all this was coming from. And when I left, I went to Las Vegas.
It's like the opposite of Sedona.
And when I went to Las Vegas, I basically met him like within 10 hours of stepping off of the plane. So I didn't know it right away, but it took about 4 months, and I had actually put it out of my mind. I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't even thinking about it. And that's when we're doing a manifestation process, you do need to set it aside. Okay. We can't be obsessing about what we're wanting to manifest. And when I realized it, I pulled the paper out and I'm like, this guy is everything, right? But two things. And those things were irrelevant at that point. And he also had my mom's birthday. So there were a lot of little signs, and his dad's birthday was the same as my brother's birthday. And like little things started lining up, and I realized, wow, this is amazing. Like I am really a powerful creator. I can make changes happen in my life by drawing a line in the sand and saying no more, by getting clear and acting as if I'm already there from my future self. Right. And, that was such a powerful example. We're still married. So
great. That's a great story.
Thanks. Yeah. I love it. And I love sharing it because, we've all gone through places and spaces where it feels crappy and we're not where we want to be. And I think that is the message, is that don't operate from that place. Let's get everyone where we're operating at optimal level from where you actually do want to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. That sounds like a good place to wrap up too.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for coming on the show. And if anyone is interested in either future Sedona retreats or the Palm Beach in Florida retreats, we'll make sure to put a link to where they can find you guys in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I mean, I if any of your listeners, actually, I'll just give them the 5-day money challenge as well. We can put that link in. It's a great money challenge with some amazing value and content in it. And they can have that as well. And my website is www.cameogore.com.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Cameo. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye.